Okay, on the DPS24, when we want to record a mix, what the machine does is it takes all this audio, up to 24 tracks, as well as any live inputs that we have running at the time of mixdown, which would include our effects. It could be sequencers running sync to the DPS24 to dump real-time MIDI tracks. We want to take all of that, combine it, and mix it down to 2 tracks in stereo. The way we do that is we go to the CDR page, which is the shift function of the setup screen. So we hold shift and setup, and we get CDR setup, but as a subset we get F1, which is mixdown. Okay? The mixdown screen has a graphic on it that represents what's going on. In terms of traditional analog recording, it shows us our mixer, which would have the track audio as well as any effects, which we've got externally going on, and it shows it all dumping down to an icon that represents a 2-track or a half-track mastering deck. In reality, what happens is the DPS24, instead of sending all this to an external mastering deck, records it to tracks 1 and 2 of a brand new internal project, and those tracks are automatically linked in stereo and panned hard left and right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do record enable, and we get to another screen now where we have to name the new destination project, the new mix project. Okay, I'm going to press new. Now if I don't name it, it'll automatically take the existing project we're working on, which is the video demo, and add the word mix to it. Okay? If I want to name it, I can name it using the same method I named before, either using the Q knobs or using the Axis keyboard. For speed's sake, I'm just going to leave it to say video demo T-Mix. And I'm going to press OK. The only thing that changes now on the main screen is the fact that at the top of the screen it says mix down via effects, which means we're doing an actual mix down, which would include any effects, either internal or external. None of our tracks here are armed, although if you did arm them it wouldn't hurt anything, because when you're in mix down mode, the only thing that gets recorded is the audio and stereo to a new mix down project. In order to do this mix down, I have my automation on, I have my effects hooked up. All I have to do is press play and record. Now all of our tracks and editing and effects and automation will all be recorded. Okay, so now we've actually recorded our mix project of Atomic Duck is the name of the song. That's what, right there, Dan, it's Atomic Duck.
I like it.
Dan likes it. We're going with Atomic Duck. So now what I can do is I can close out console, save changes. Yes, I do. And if I ever need to in the future open console to redo this mix, I can do that. And what I want to do now is I'm going to open up the project screen, and along with my video demo track, which is the track we've been working on, there's a new project that appears called Video Demo T Mix. I'm going to highlight that and I'm going to press F6, load. I'm loading up our mix project. As I said before, this project has 2 tracks of audio on it, in stereo on tracks 1 and 2, already linked and ready to go. If we wanted to, we can treat this like any other project. We can add another 22 tracks of audio if we want. We can add automation, we can add effects, we can do any of the stuff you can normally do on any project. We haven't lost any tracks from the original project. We've gained a brand new project. Everything's organized neatly on the DPS24's hard drive. We have our original multi-track and we have a mix project. The next thing we want to look at is mastering, or mastering. And the DPS24 has a great setup for handling this too. in addition to using any of the channel controls, for instance, if I go to tracks 1 through 12, hit the select button for 1 and 2 and the Q channel, I can now do EQ on my mix, my overall mix. So this would be EQ for the mix. I can do dynamics, okay, of that mix. And anything I do on one track will be applied to the second track because they're linked, although I could unlink them. What I'm going to do on this track, I want to pump the volume up for this thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the dynamics on, library, and I'm going to scroll down to the preset that says limiter. Okay? Recall. As the track is running, I'm going to set the threshold on the limiter. This is a 100-to-1 compression ratio. Okay? With a fairly fast attack, although a lot of times I'll speed that attack up so it's really grabbing this thing. I'm going to run the track and drop the threshold because right now it's set at 0, which means no limiting. And I'm going to see what I need to get this thing pumping a little bit. Okay, I got some pretty good limiting going on, but I'm still getting some peaks here because I added output gain to this thing. As well as I can also do EQ changes for the overall mix. I'm not going to do that in this case. You already know how EQ works. The best part about this is that this all will work at the same time as the onboard multiband compressor. So I can apply EQ, individual dynamics processing to the tracks, or separate channel processing to the tracks, using the track dynamics processors, as well as multiband compression and expansion. And how we get to that is we do the same jump to the CDR screen, which is Shift and Setup. Okay? And I again press the mix down thing, the mix down button. Instead, this time though, I'm going to turn MBCX on. Okay? I get pre-fader or post-fader. If the MBCX is set to pre-fader, whatever happens in the MBCX is going to be affecting my output level directly, so that if my MBCX, my multiband compressor setting, is giving me too much juice, I'm going to be clipping the left-right master. And I can turn the MBCX down, or turn the master fader down, depending on whether I set it pre or post fader. I can also set the MBCX off, pre-fader, post-fader. Okay? I'm going to set it to post-fader. And record enable on. And again, now I have to select another name because this is going to create a third project, which is my master project. I have my original multi-track, I have my mix project, and now I'm going to create a third project relevant to this same song, which is going to be my master project. I can name it, and I'm going to name this one. So I'm going to call this one Atomic Duck Master. So scroll lock mode is on. And there we go. Now, if you're using the onboard multiband compressor, you can't use effects at the same time. It uses up too much system horsepower. But in fact, that's a good thing, because you really want to keep this whole process separate from your mix down when you would do your effects. So now if you ever want to go back and remaster it, you only call up this project. You won't be changing your effects setting. If you want to go back and change your mix, you would go back and change your mix or your multi-track. So now, to get to the effects, since they're disabled when you use the multiband compressor, you press the effects button. Instead, now you get the multiband compressor screen. What this is a powerful algorithm. This gives you 4 bands of compression and expansion. And for each band, you have all kinds of settings. When you get to the first screen, you can set the crossover points, the slope for the bands. You can get to the comp screen, which is just the compressor settings, and you can adjust which band you're working on. For instance, if I'm working on the low frequency band, I can change the output. I can boost the output, the release, the attack, the ratio, threshold settings, as if you're working on a normal compressor, but it's only going to compress the low frequency or the low mid, or high bands. As well as you have a library available to you where you can call up presets, or you can store and save your own presets. There's a good one in here that I like, which is the first one on the list, called Mastering. I'm going to recall that. The only thing that might not work for me, knowing this preset ahead of time, is that this preset includes a healthy dose of low frequency boost, like 6 dB, which is a big kick. I'm going to drop that to 5 dB. I'm not going to mess with anything else on here. I mean, I'm assuming everybody basically knows how to work a compressor. It's like having 4 compressors. And I'm going to see what's going on. I'm going to hear and see what's going on now with the multi-band compressor. Let's turn it off. Okay, I'm seeing a little bit of clipping happening here because the multiband is doing some makeup gain in all the different bands. That's giving me some clipping. So now, I'm going to set the MBCX to pre-fader. I'm going to let this run again. Okay, there was 2 ways I could have handled the clipping. One, because the MBCX was set pre-fader, all I had to do was drop the master 2 dB. The other thing I could have done is, because we're not running any automation on this, I could have dropped tracks 1 and 2 as well. I don't know for a change of 1 or 2 dB that it matters which one you drop. Maybe some of you might have an opinion on that, but for me, this was a quick and easy way to do it. I got my levels under control. The thing is pumping pretty loud, and the meters are staying pretty close to 0 for the entire duration of the song. So the MBCX is set up. Again, you go to the effects screen, and you're on the multiband compressor or expander, okay, which gives you expansion for all of the 4 bands. I've got my channel. My channel's set up with some limiting, as well as a little bit of output gain. I'm going to drop that a little bit because it sounds like it's pumping. I'm going to raise the threshold a little bit. And all I have to do now is hit play and record because I set up a master project. When I hit play and record, you won't see anything happening on this project, but it's going to start a whole new project, which will be my mastered project. I'm watching the left-right master to make sure I'm not clipping. Q channel, select, and I got my left-right master. Now we're at the point where we can actually burn an audio CD of our new demo project, Atomic Duck. I've loaded the mastered project, which is still a 24-bit, 44.1 kilohertz project. And in the DPS24, a nice thing happens here. This thing automatically, if necessary, dithers and resamples the project and burns a standard Redbook CD, audio CD. If this had been 24-bit 48 kilohertz or whatever, it would have handled that for us. I could also use DSP, apply it to this thing, and resample this thing, but we don't have to. In order to do this, I'm going to hit CDR, which again is the shift of the setup button. Shift and setup gets us to the CDR screen. And I'm going to load a CDR, a blank CDR. Right now it says that there's no disk. And now it says that there's a disk, but it's blank, which means we're ready to write. On our CDR setup screen, we have information regarding what's on the left track, which is track 1, the right track, which is track 2, stereo. The region is going to be all. The write speed, I'm going to leave at slow. There's probably, it may not make any difference, there's probably less chance of write errors if you write slow. Test write, I'm going to leave off. Burn method, I can do either track it once or disk it once. Since I only have one track, I'm going to burn track it once. All I have to do now is press F5, which is the write button. We get a screen saying write track to internal CD. Audio data will be written to the disk. Audio data in this case means regular CDA audio, CD audio, which is Redbook audio. Proceed, and we get a screen telling us that things are happening and that it's writing the track. It's a short song, and it's only one song, so this should go by pretty fast. And bingo, it's completed. Press OK. Now what I can do is, in order to play this in a standard audio CD player, I have to finish the track. So I'm going to press F6, which is finish. Finish CD writing to internal CD. After this point, no more tracks can be written to the CD. If I had more tracks that I wanted to write, I would write them at this point. I don't have any more, so I'm going to write proceed. And it's going to close the CD, and now this CD, when it's done, will be playable in any standard CD player. Alright, now we've gotten to the point where we've tracked, mixed, automated, edited, mastered, and burned a CDA audio, Redbook audio disc of our song. At this point, I want to go back and just go over certain areas of the machine that we didn't really touch on. And there's a lot. The machine is deep. The thing that's going to happen with this machine is that everybody is going to find out what works for them. There are going to be some features they use, some features they don't use. Some of that will be stuff that other people do or don't use as well. All I can show you really in this, because I'm no expert, is the way I do my work. Some of the stuff we can touch on, I've written down over here, we're just going to talk about. There's really not much to show. On the main control surface of the machine, we have right here a whole section that has to do with listening back to audio. The first knob at the top controls the monitor level. And what that is the volume of the overall track that's being seen at the left-right master output. So if I play the track, and I've got my speakers hooked up to the main outs. Here's my main monitor level. If I want to listen for phase anomalies or see how the mix is setting, I can also hit a mono button. Listen to the whole track in mono. Actually sounds pretty good in mono too. As well, we have a near field button. You can hook up 2 sets of monitors. If you don't have a separate set of mains and near fields, the near field button will also work as a mute button. When I hit this button, since I don't have a second set of monitors hooked up, it's killing the audio to these monitors because there are no other monitors to play the audio back. If you had 2 sets of monitors, you can flip back and forth between your near fields and your mains using this button. As well, in the same section, there's a 2-track in button. If you have a separate analog reel-to-reel CD player or some other form of external deck, or it can even be a cassette deck, you can hook it up to the 2-track inputs on the back of the machine, hit play on it, and at any time press the 2-track button, and you'll be monitoring what's coming into the 2-track inputs through the left-right master and be able to hear it. That'll automatically mute the track that's playing, and you'll only hear what's coming into the 2-track master. As well as if you're using an external mixdown deck, you can hook it up to that, and that's normally where you'll be listening to your mix from your external deck. The DPS24 has a whole facility set up for doing real talkback and cue mix for the talent in your studio. There's a built-in talkback mic with its own level control, okay? And this talkback mic sends its signal to 2 of the auxes. And in the DPS24, when you go to the setup screen, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do in here. For instance, there's play to time, play from time, metronome level, foot switch, 24-track record. By the way, this machine can record 24 tracks simultaneously in a special mode called 24-track record mode. I believe that's still a unique feature for machines like this. Audio setup. You can set the 2-track source to be the 2-track left and right, 2-track level, 2-track sensitivity. The multi-purpose light pipe connection, which is the optical digital input on here, can be set to multi-channel ADAT or optical SPDIF. SPDIF format can be set to professional or consumer. You hit more and you have grid names. There's a grid screen on here. Shift and main screen gives you a grid which shows you all your track names and all the data on the tracks in blocks. There's a graphical representation as the track is scrolling, showing you where data appears on each of the tracks. When we go to the project screen, you can select drives. The DPS24 has the ability, via its SCSI connection, to record to and playback audio directly from an external SCSI drive, even if no internal drive is installed in the machine. Some people who are particularly sensitive to the sound of a hard drive working away inside the machine can remove the internal hard drive, get the SCSI card for the machine, and run a 68-pin wide SCSI hard drive up to, I believe, 20-25 feet away from the machine for dead silent operation in the room. Once that drive is installed, we can scroll through a list of drives on this drive screen. Right now I don't have my SCSI drive on, but it's showing us all the drives that are associated with the machine, meaning the internal hard drive, the CD drive, as well as external drives that are really folders on my computer connected to the DPS24. Through Access and Access Server, you can designate folders on your computer as destinations for audio. You can copy audio tracks, export the wave data to an external folder on your computer. You can dump entire projects to those folders. on your computer via the USB connection, as opposed to backing up projects on CD. Although you can't play back and record audio data directly from those host drives on Axis. This is a handy thing because you can also import and export wave data directly to the computer from the DPS24's hard drive to any of those folders on your computer, as long as Axis is open. Okay, while we're on the project screen, you also have a set of project tools. You can hit the project tools button, scroll to a project, you can copy that project, you can copy that project to the internal hard drive so you have a second safe copy on the hard drive. That's handy if you're going to make changes to the project that you're concerned about. Before you make those changes, copy the project. If anything goes wrong, you can always wipe out the original project, recall the copy. You can back up the project, which means you can take that project and back it up to CD as another safe copy. You can restore the project, which means if you have the project already backed up to CD, you can insert the project CD into the CD drive and restore the project from the CD drive to the internal hard drive of the machine. You can delete a project and you can rename a project. You can't delete or rename a project if that's the active current project. If you want to delete or rename a project, you first load another project and then you can use delete or rename on the project that you wanted to work on. As well as you can start a new project or load a project from that screen too. Some of the other things that go on inside the machine, back to TalkBack, is if you go to any channel page on here, you have the 4 possible effect sends that can be configured as aux sends. Using the auxiliary outputs on the machine, you can use 2 of your aux sends to send audio data to your aux outs. So depending on each track, how much aux you send from the track, you can create a separate mix by sending more or less of each track. That's completely independent of the onboard mix. And you can use 2 of your other auxes to send effects so that the talent can monitor the mix with their own balance, the way they like it, as well as monitor themselves with effects while they're recording. That would be independent of the mix that you as the engineer are hearing in the control room. And the TalkBack microphone itself also is configured to send its audio to the auxes too, so that you can talk with the talent in another room who's got the headphones on while they're recording and do your communication without having to go back and forth.